Bruce Lee is arguably the greatest martial artist to ever live. His mastery of the fighting arts was nothing short of legendary, and whether it was his displays of speed or his almost unparalleled strength. Now, because he sadly passed away at a young age, many of us may not necessarily grasp the full scope of Bruce Lee's fighting prowess, but those who knew and saw him up close would easily testify that the man truly did some otherworldly stuff. I'm talking about feats of superhuman ability that are just completely unbelievable to most people.
Oh boy,
honestly, people do think Bruce Lee was superhuman.
In this video, we'll be going over a few of these feats, and hopefully, you'll really get to grasp how much of a rare talent that Bruce Lee was.
Oh yeah.
Speedy punches. Now, if there's one thing that Bruce Lee knew how to do better than anyone else, it was throw a quick punch. In fact, there's an argument to be made that the reason Bruce was so much better than most other fighters around was simply because he was too fast for most of them. By the time he would throw a strike, it would have been too late for them to mount any defense.
How the hell was he so
Bruce
fast?
Lee was a practitioner of his own fighting style, you would imagine there'd be a lot of competition. Many people wanted to test their skills with the champ, and that included even those who didn't practice Wing Chun or Jeet Kune Do. For our first clip, we see a perfect depiction of an instance when someone tried to challenge Bruce, only for things to backfire. Back in 1976, Bruce was at a martial arts exhibition when he ran into Victor Moore. For those who may not know who Victor Moore was, he held a 10th degree black belt in karate and was also a 4-time world karate champion by the time the video was recorded. The two men had met at Long Beach International Karate Championships that year, with Bruce being a special guest, and during a speed drill challenge, he had thrilled the crowd, performing several moves, which included, and especially, his famous unstoppable punch. Apparently, Moore was of the belief that Bruce was not fast enough to hit him with the punch, so in front of everyone, they decided to put this theory to the test. Bruce had set a simple challenge. He would throw a punch in Moore's direction, and all Moore had to do was block it. The two men took their places, and then the action came through. Bruce Lee literally threw that punch not once but twice, making sure that it didn't hit Moore. But even though Moore didn't get hit in the face, I think it's safe to say that he got the message loud and clear.
He should have hit his ass in the face.
Fighting with no eyes. One of the reasons why Bruce Lee will always live on when you consider the legends of martial arts was that he had a penchant for doing things that were thought to be utterly impossible. It's especially more impressive when you consider the fact that the man was a martial artist performing an art form that required mastery of the body's full sense organs. If you've ever been in close combat, you'd be able to tell that you need to be alert at all times, and the moment you slip up, you immediately hand your opponent an upper hand that they can use against you. For Bruce Lee, however, it would appear that the mastery of the martial arts had become so innate that he literally didn't even need to have his eyes open to win a fight. Check out this insane scene from an exhibition he had a few years before he passed away. Here, we see Bruce Lee engaging in close combat with a sparring partner, and at first it seems as though they're both evenly matched, with Bruce and his partner going toe-to-toe for a few moments. Then, like a snake that's lurking and looking for the perfect time, Bruce picks his spot and strikes with optimal precision. Personally, I think there are two things that are impressive about this. First was the fact that Bruce had literally dispatched the guy in less than a minute. However, what was even more impressive was that Bruce was literally blindfolded for the entirety of the clip. How insane it must have been to fight someone with your eyes closed. And if you thought this was everything, well, let me tell you, you've got another thing coming. Bruce's sparring partner was not content on being knocked to the ground once, so he came back again for the second round, and to make things worse, Bruce literally dispatched him in an even shorter amount of time, despite the fact that the man was still wearing his blindfolds. That must have been, what, 5 seconds? The guy was definitely not one to be toyed with. The two men then went on sparring for a third time, and as you would imagine, the result really wasn't any different. Bruce showed impressive skill and mastery of his fighting style, and his sparring partner was just no match for his superior abilities. Taking care of your opponent is one thing, but doing so while blindfolded is completely next level. Considering the fact that Bruce was wearing an outfit that looks similar to the first clip, I wouldn't be surprised to find out that he did this at the same event in 1967. Taking it to the table. Now, if you thought that Bruce Lee was only good at using his fists, you would be very wrong. Sure, the man mostly fought with nothing but his bare knuckles and his feet, but that didn't necessarily mean that he didn't equally master how to use specialized weapons when fighting. And when it came to weapons, he was especially fond of using his famous nunchucks, a traditional East Asian martial arts tool consisting of 2 sticks being connected to each other at their ends by a short metal chain or a rope.
That definitely would be my weapon of choice.
And because of its shape, the nunchucks can be incredibly difficult to master for most people. But if Bruce Lee is anything, he's definitely not a normal person. Take a look at this clip, for instance, shot as part of a backstage video montage for a movie production. It shows Bruce facing off against opponents using the nunchucks. And you would probably think it was a fight scene, but no, Bruce is literally using them to play table tennis.
He is not playing table tennis with nunchucks. Oh, I did not know this. Yo, he is playing.
Do you even have any idea of how insane this is? I mean, first off, table tennis is a game requiring speed, strength, and an incredible amount of hand-eye coordination.
And a paddle.
For most professionals, merely keeping up with a wide bat is already as difficult as you can imagine, but it's no problem for Bruce. Despite the fact that the nunchucks are dangerous, he wields them with so much skill, easily using them in place of the traditional table tennis bat.
If I'd have known
Bruce
about
is so
the
good, in fact, that he faced off against 2 players on the same time with nothing but his nunchucks, and he still managed to win.
This confirms it. That has to be fake. That has to be fake. This can't be real, man. This cannot.
Honestly, if I hadn't seen it myself, I probably would not have believed the video was real. The fact that Bruce was able to do this while still maintaining his balance and not hitting himself with his own weapon was impressive enough. But to literally defeat 2 great players at the same time just takes things beyond the realm of possibility.
That's unbelievable.
Insane workout routine.
Oh, I've heard about his workouts.
It's absolutely impossible for anyone to attain the level of mastery over martial arts that Bruce Lee achieved without going through extensive and rigorous training. Bruce himself knew this and never cheated himself out of that. In fact, by the time he had become an established martial arts grandmaster, he was said to have engaged in such rigorous training sessions, most people would wonder if the guy was even human. Now, to really understand Bruce's training, it's worth exploring his fighting style. In the early parts of his career, he was trained by Ip Man in Hong Kong, and for years he had built up his mastery of the legendary Wing Chun fighting art, taking lessons from Ip Man while incorporating them into his own form of the art that he developed later in the early 60s.
I've been meaning to watch Ip Man. Somebody told me it's the greatest martial arts movie of all time.
Following a highly publicized fight with Wong Jack Man, he decided that he was not happy with the outcome of the conflict. Primarily, Bruce hated the fact that his fight with Wong Jack Man lasted so long, even though according to most sources he eventually won. He decided that the traditional fighting styles had become too rigid and so would not work in practical fighting scenarios.
I wish that fight between
As a remedy, he created Jeet Kune Do in 1967. The style of no style, as Bruce would deem it, was requiring Bruce to literally switch his training methods. He began lifting weights for strength, running more to improve endurance, and stretching properly to optimize flexibility as much as possible. And as you can imagine, he succeeded with that as well.
Yeah, he did.
Bruce Lee's strength training was especially intense. He practiced his kicks and punches so much, relying on punching bags and kicking pads that weighed hundreds of pounds. And even at that, he still managed to almost break them. Just check out this clip of him trying to use a kicking pad.
Oh boy, I could tell that one was going to be a hard hit. A lot of shots. It was missed on. I know you're coming in good.
Sure.
You can see the strength that Bruce packed into that kick, which was so much that it literally forced the guy holding it to move back several paces. The same went into Bruce's punching training, and according to some reports, he used special punching bags that were heavier and more dense than most of the ones that were available. This weight meant very little to Bruce, who would almost literally yank them off their hinges with the strength of his hits.
Jeez. My man needed extra heavy bags. Honestly, right there, I
With
could tell
such dedication and an immense focus on building strength, it's really no wonder that Bruce ended up with a punch that was not only fast, but also lethal as well. And that's a deadly combination if I've ever seen one. All of these had helped to reinforce Bruce's Jeet Kune Do arsenal. With his new fighting style, he was finally ready to conquer the martial arts world. The one-inch punch.
The one-inch punch, famous.
If there's one thing that Bruce Lee has become especially famous for, it's the one-inch punch. Basically a style of punching that's so rare yet so effective, and even though many people have tried to replicate it, the truth is it's nearly impossible. The one-inch punch is exactly what it sounds like. Bruce Lee would stand at a very close distance to his opponent and deliver a powerful punch to their midsection. What made the punch so popular is actually the fact that it almost defies the laws of physics.
Oh, that one was nice.
Because you have to remember, if you're going to punch someone, you'll want to stand a considerable distance and let the momentum from the punch give you enough weight to knock them down. With the one-inch punch, Bruce takes a different approach, delivering a blow that's still as devastating, despite the fact that it's literally an inch from the opponent.
I would like to know the
To be fair, Bruce didn't invent the one-inch punch, but the technique is only prominent today because of how much he had popularized it. And to see him perform it is honestly to watch a master at his art. Interestingly, this clip was captured at the same karate exhibition where Bruce had sparred with Vic Moore.
I wish I was at that damn exhibition.
You can see how intense the punch technique actually is. Despite the fact that he didn't have the luxury of space or momentum to really give it the right amount of power, he had still managed to knock the guy off his feet and get him to move back a few paces.
He slid his ass back.
It really just goes to show you the type of raw strength the man was working with. And you may be wondering, what happens if Bruce actually gets enough momentum under his punch? Well, that's why he also demonstrated his 6-inch punch. While the technique might not have been as prominent as the 1-inch, it's still quite impressive. And to really appreciate it, you have to see this clip from the same event. For a proper demonstration, Bruce invites a karate practitioner to have a crack at one of the audience members who was wearing protective gear. As you can see, the karate guy gave it all that he had, and he only managed to make the audience member fall back a few steps.
Oh, I didn't even see the comparison. I saw this video before, but I never saw the comparison like that.
He tries it out on the same guy, and you can see a clear difference between his effort and that of the karate guy. I mean, come on. Even a visually impaired person would tell you that this was quite a stretch. Bruce didn't only knock the guy back a few steps, but he made him sit in his chair
while
the pad that he used to protect his chest had literally flew off. What sort of superhuman strength did he have, really? There are only a few things that really depict Bruce's true strength: his 1-inch punch, and to a lesser degree, the 6-inch punch as well. Definitely will rank in that category. To date, most people who have tried to replicate it have only scratched the surface, and truly no one could ever do it like Bruce. The 2-finger push-up. Another interesting feat that adds to the lore of Bruce Lee is his popular 2-finger push-up.
The 2-finger push-up.
The push-up is generally considered one of the most difficult exercises to perform, and it's especially challenging because it literally takes something out of your entire upper body, from the core of your tummy to your shoulders and even your arms. And for many of us, the act of completing a push-up can be a challenge. You have to raise your body, then push it down again in several motions. Without the right amount of strength, it may be impossible. For Bruce Lee, however, it was no more than a walk in the park. You have to remember that Bruce focused a lot on improving his strength as part of his training, and because of that, he was able to optimize his own core strength as well as that of his hands. One thing that Bruce Lee was known for was his willingness to go above and beyond what other people were prepared to do. And while most of us train with push-ups using both our hands, Bruce would literally switch it up using just 2 of his fingers. It's insane to think about. Most people today try to act like they've mastered the art of the push-up and tend to do things like lifting their bodies and clapping, or perhaps doing push-ups on one hand. But for Bruce Lee, all of it was no more than child's play. He had upped the ante, working with only 2 fingers on his right hand and displaying an ungodly amount of strength to use those fingers to lift his body off the ground one at a time.
His strength.
To be fair, there have been a lot of people who have also mastered the push-up technique, but there's no argument about the fact that Bruce was really the one who had made it as popular as it is today. Always ready.
Listen, man, hang on. The bottom line is, is Bruce Lee was phenomenal. And the fact that it's been so long since he was doing this and nobody has come along to even come close or compare to the things that he did, or at least, I don't know, maybe people have and we just don't see it. I don't know what it is. They didn't have the actual aura, the all-around charisma that Bruce Lee had, maybe. I'm not sure what it is, because there has to be fighters out there that, you know, I'm not going to say could beat Bruce Lee, because I will not say that. You'll never get me to say anybody to beat Bruce Lee, you know, but it just fascinates the hell out of me that, what is it? I don't know, 50 years later after the man's death, there still hasn't been anyone that has come along to even come within nowhere close to the same stratosphere as Bruce Lee. Listen, man, that little compilation was excellent. It got me thinking about some things now. So here I am, supposed to be recording Game of Thrones. Now I'm about to jump into a whole Bruce Lee rabbit hole. And I might mess around and record It Man for the channel because, you know, Bruce Lee's trainer. Anyways, that was a nice little break. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, if you're new to the channel, listen, I'm not a reaction channel. I just like to watch stuff, and I hope you guys like to watch it with me. Peace.